Hi, I'm Jennifer Moore, executive producer here at KHOU 11 and executive producer of the award-winning Juneteenth specials we've done here at KHOU 11. My favorite story so far has to be our profile of Ruth Simmons, the first Black woman to be president at an Ivy League institution, Brown University. I attended a special forum at Rice University featuring her as the guest speaker. That's where I learned so much about her life and said, we have to do a story about this woman. I was captivated. What intrigued me the most is she grew up thinking the most she could be in life was a maid. That's all she saw and knew in a childhood of sharecropping. But beyond that, she didn't just lead several major universities across the country and let that speak for itself. She also made sure to create transformative programs at those universities, but with the intent to influence other universities across the country. And that's exactly what she's done. And she's not stopping there, even as she currently advises Harvard's president on how Harvard can help HBCUs. And I found that motivating. She's an alum of Harvard. She's an alum of HBCUs. And I found it so encouraging of everything that she's doing. And therefore, she was the perfect fit for our special Juneteenth, 1865 to 2023, The Freedom to Learn.
Growing up, you thought you would become a maid?
Well, every woman that I knew and was close to was a maid. That's what one did.
Ruth Simmons was the daughter of sharecroppers, the youngest of 12, born in the East Texas town of Grapeland during the Jim Crow era. Her parents taught her to be mindful, even careful, among whites.
You said you and your family pretended to be invisible. How?
To be outspoken, to be obvious, to be noticed, always posed a bit of a danger because often you didn't know what would offend.
At age 7, the family moved to Houston, where she says school became her refuge and teachers sparked her curiosity and thirst for knowledge.
First of all, education opened up to me the possibility that there was more to my life than what I could do with my hands. I could develop my mind.
But she would also learn that educators would do more than just broaden her mind. They would rescue her during the most difficult time of her youth. When she was a 15-year-old student at Wheatley High School, her mother died.
When I went into my junior year, everybody in that school knew I had lost my mother. The principal, all of my teachers, and you know what they did? They gathered around and they tried to serve as surrogate parents. They scolded me when I was being idiotic, and that was often, by the way. They made opportunities available for me. They decided that I had to go to college. They decided that I had to get a scholarship. They decided where I should go to college.
She got that scholarship, and in 1964 headed to New Orleans to attend Dillard University, an HBCU. It was the next chapter of an extraordinary journey for a woman who had attended segregated public schools with fewer resources, except for the one resource that truly mattered.
We knew we didn't have the same books. We knew we didn't have the same access to enrichment opportunities. But we had something else that cannot be underestimated in an education system. And that is, we had people who cared about us.
After graduating from Dillard, Simmons went on to get 2 graduate degrees from Harvard, then crisscrossed the country working at several universities. Along the way, becoming president of Smith College in Massachusetts, and became the first Black president of an Ivy League school, Brown University in Rhode Island. In 2017, she came out of retirement to become president of Prairie View A&M, leaving in 2023. But slowing down is not in Ruth's DNA. She is now a distinguished presidential fellow at Rice University and a special advisor to the president of Harvard. Ruth Simmons, the little girl once told to be invisible, is an outspoken influencer in education and sought-after speaker, and just wrote her memoir, simply titled, Up Home, One Girl's Journey.
Hi, I'm Nicole Jones, and I'm a producer and researcher of KHOU's Juneteenth documentaries. My favorite story that we've done so far is the HBCU impact story from the first documentary. Not only did I get to conduct the interviews and put together the story, it's something that's near and dear to my heart because I am a graduate of a historically Black college. I graduated from North Carolina A&T State University, that's in Greensboro, North Carolina, Aggie Pride. And doing the story, I got to talk to professors and students from both Texas Southern University and Prairie View A&M, and I can totally relate to the passion they have when talking about their university. There's literally nothing like an HBCU when it comes to, of course, the education you receive, the family atmosphere, and the culture. And Dr. Cossey, who is a professor I spoke with from TSU, even got emotional when talking about the strides TSU has made over the years. Another soundbite that sticks out to me is when Dr. Marco Robinson from Prairie View said HBCUs are a direct result of Juneteenth. Those who were formerly enslaved wanted to get an education and wanted to learn as much as they could. And that's something that I'm very thankful for, that my ancestors paved the way for me to attend an HBCU and gain an education.
Well, historically Black colleges and universities, their history is related to the fact that our nation was not ready for people of African descent to study with white Americans.
Prairie View A&M is a direct result of Juneteenth. Those individuals who heard that message that day, they went forth with the zeal and the fervor to realize what an education could do for emancipated Blacks. Most importantly, now you have individuals who could not read, who could not write, that came and got remedial lessons here and could go back out into their communities to be productive people.
I chose TSU because there was a sense of belonging that I felt when I walked on the campus. It felt like family, it felt like home, and it gave me a feeling of purpose and that I was destined to be here for a specific reason.
And we know that Prairie View produces productive people. And that's one of the mottos here at this school, and it's very much tied back to that same group, that first generation who came here, who studied, who thrived, and sought to make their communities better.
And as a little girl, to me, the building, Hannah Hall, was colossal. Little did I know that one day I would have the opportunity to teach at this school. This institution has been a beacon of light to people in the community.
Hello, I'm Len Cannon here in the KHOU 11 studio. This next story is my favorite from all the stories in our Juneteenth documentaries because we actually talked to people whose ancestors owned a plantation. The plantation where Prairie View A&M sits now. It is rare to hear white people not only acknowledge their family's participation in a brutal institution, but lean into the conversation about social and economic equality in America. It is a conversation I will never forget.
50 miles outside of Houston, off Highway 290, is the campus of Prairie View A&M University. It was founded during Reconstruction in 1876, 11 years after Juneteenth.
Prairie View A&M is a direct result of Juneteenth. So we get our first graduates like in the 1880s. This first generation went out and the majority of them became educators because it was a need in the African American community during this time to educate the formerly enslaved who didn't know how to read or write or count.
The land where Prairie View sits was once home to Alta Vista Plantation, spread over 3,000 acres with 300 to 400 slaves. And recently something quite rare happened. The descendants of the plantation owners reached out to the university, wanting to collaborate with students and staff in the push for social and racial equality.
Becky Vanderslice and her daughters, Allison and Mara, are descendants of Jared Kirby, who was the master of the plantation from 1849 to 1865.
Why do you decide to openly talk about this very uncomfortable part of your family history?
I felt it was really important to stand up and declare this really did happen and my family was part of it, and to acknowledge that
When she was about 9 years old, Becky remembers her grandmother in Houston showing her a probate document listing the names of slaves at Alta Vista Plantation, along with their ages. The document verifying a difficult truth for the family.
It's made me very angry. It's made me very sad. I think it's also made me more empathetic.
Becky, the family matriarch, says members of her church in Colorado encouraged her to reach out to the university. I heard you say in an interview you were afraid to contact the university. Why?
I did not know how I'd be received. I didn't know who to speak to.
She ended up talking to the right person. Phyllis Earls is the university library archivist. She vividly remembers that first conversation.
Then she started talking about the Kirby family. And then she said, I'm one of the descendants. And I remember her saying that, I want to talk to you, but I wasn't sure how I'll be received. I said, I've been waiting for someone from the Kirby family to call.
Oh, 8,000 acres.
8,000 acres of land.
300 slaves.
Yeah.
The three women finally visited the Prairie View campus in May. A family with a complicated past now joining the conversation about bringing people together.
I think so important that we come forward to talk about what really happened. And I think to be a model for other white families that could partner with historic Black colleges and universities and others to tell the fullness of this story. And frankly, we're seeing a movement in our country with laws passed in legislatures across the country trying to have us stop having these conversations, to make it harder for people to have these conversations. I think we should be doing more of it, and especially when it's uncomfortable. I think it helps you grow and stretch, and I hope it can mean that we can be better partners and community members with all of the people in our communities.
Juneteenth ended slavery, but it meant newly freed Texans would begin their pursuit of economic equality with practically nothing.
A woman who was interviewed when she was 105 in the 1930s, and she was a slave on the Alta Vista plantation. And she tells a story, when she was a slave, she never had shoes. So, you know, our relative never gave shoes. When she got her first pair of shoes, after emancipation, when she was freed, she said that she sometimes hated to wear them and she would just look at them with pride. And so I feel like that just really captures how horrific and how limited the experience was when they were slaves, and then, you know, just the mundane everyday things that became such amazing examples of what they were then able to have after emancipation.
Conversely, according to the Texas A&M Board of Trustees records, the Kirby family sold Alta Vista Plantation to the state of Texas in 1876 for $15,787. That's about $426,000 in today's money.
I mean, we started out with this horrific history of people being enslaved, and now it's a place of opportunity for hundreds and thousands, well, thousands of African American students that now, on this very land, are able to build their dreams for their own careers and their own families. And so I think we're very proud to see that outcome. But really, that's what I hope our story is. It's a very American story. And we're always trying to, you know, move in the progress of social and racial justice and equality as we're trying to perfect our country. So to me, it's just like a little slice of our country's history.
Hi there, Mia Grady here, the KHOU 11 News Studio, reflecting on the award-winning Juneteenth project and the stories that stand out to me as both talent and a producer of the documentary series. We have told dozens of stories, past and present, some more historical in nature, others more modern. My favorite, well, it bridges both, and it also brings together two of my interests as well. I love a good story, and I also appreciate architectural design and detail. Both came together in the story of Ashton Villa. It was originally just a location to serve as the backdrop for an interview with the extraordinary Miss Tommy Boudreau, a native from Galveston and also the Galveston Historical Foundation's Chair of African American Heritage. But the minute I stepped foot in the building, I knew we had to tell its story. It was creepy, yet beautiful, all in one. I immediately told the photographer we had to capture that essence, shoot the portraits that covered the walls, all the intricate details in this grand home, once a Confederate headquarters. we're going to paint a powerful picture of juxtaposition, an ode to the enslaved people who made and laid the bricks of Ashton Villa and implemented the exquisite detailing that still stands today.
They laid the bricks in the downtown area here where we stand on many of these buildings. Not only laid the bricks, but made the bricks.
Just off Galveston's bustling Broadway Street is Ashton Villa, built in 1859 by James Monroe Brown, a loyalist to the Confederacy, dubbed an honorary colonel. Brown was also a wealthy banker, architect, and mason who designed what's believed to be Texas' first all-brick house, a palace with bricks all laid by slaves.
Anywhere you read, they will tell you that, slaves did all the work for this. They had to follow what the contractor was either telling them or showing them in order to do it. And look at this place. It's beautiful.
All of the intricacies and the detail that still stand today. It's amazing.
1859, one of the few buildings that withstood the 1900 storm.
Ashton Villa was saved from demolition in 1970. The historic home, now an event space, is operated by the Galveston Historical Foundation and home to the island's annual Juneteenth celebration. I hope you enjoyed the story of Ashton Villa. I hope you visit this Texas historical landmark located just off Broadway Street in Galveston. It really is remarkable. And the property grounds are also home to the city of Galveston's official Juneteenth statue called the Legislator. It's the late state representative Al Edwards who introduced legislation to make Juneteenth first a state holiday. There is so much history and so much more to watch right here on KHOU 11 Plus about Juneteenth.